I'd love to hear about your journey and maybe start by telling us a bit about your teaching career and what you focused on. I also know you as being someone who's in the arts in every way, visual arts,
Yeah.
photography, acting, stage plays, music, painting, the list goes on. So you're just a creative soul. And we
Hmm.
have a lot of those in the school system. I don't know in your case, but I think it's hard to fit into a system, into a box when you're so creative.
It can be because it makes you different from other people.
Hmm.
I get into a staff room and a bunch of men start talking about sports, and I can't follow sports. To me, I appreciate the activity and the fun of it all, but to watch sports is just not my thing. So when they start talking about specific hockey players and who got traded and how unfair it was, I just have to leave the room and go back to my art room and paint something.
I love it. I
not
love
your not your typical guy,
it.
but not all men are like that. Not all men watch hockey.
No, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So tell me about how your career went, how you started out, and just the short version and where you ended up a couple of years ago.
My career
Biggest.
started 32 years ago. I was still in Newfoundland, and I came out of university. I was looking for a teaching job, so I went to my old junior high school in Gander, Newfoundland, with a resume, and they needed an art teacher. So I had some art experience and aptitude for it. I didn't have any formal training in art, but anyway, they needed an art teacher because it was a new part of the curriculum. So I went in, and it was difficult trying to get my feet wet, with junior high school kids, but I survived for 2 years. And then I relocated to New Brunswick for different reasons. And I went into the district, and immediately I got a job teaching art. And my other big thing was theater. So I was at River Valley Middle School where I was able to do theater and art classes. And then in 2001, I went to Simons High School. They were looking for an art teacher and also someone who would work in the theater with the kids. They weren't doing musicals or plays. Nobody was doing that. So it was a perfect fit for me. So I was at Simons for 21 years. So that brought me up to almost 30. Then I left Simons for a short bit and went to Kennebecasis Valley High School for just a semester. And then I finished up my career at Rothsay High School, and then I retired. So 32 years of teaching art, theater, a little bit of music, some technology, whatever they threw at me, but mostly art.
It sounds like you enjoyed yourself, and I know I was witness because I was at Simon's with you, and that's where we met. But
Yes.
tell me about the years leading up to that big decision of what to do. How were you feeling, and how did you know it was time?
Um, the numbers have to be there, and the teachers have a pretty good pension. So once you reach a certain age and you've logged in so many years, then you have an index. And if the index is high enough, then you can retire. Of course, the longer you work, the more index you have, so you get a little more pension. But the pension was good. It was enough to retire on, and I could have gone a little bit further. But I knew it was time. Another indicator was that the stuff that they're sending down from Fredericton, which is basically making the job much more meticulous and creating so much more work for teachers, and that's okay. But the thing is that everything is online. All our marking and all our assignments are online. So now we're very, very scrutinized by the public and parents. For that reason, we have to be so much more meticulous. And I just found that it was just getting harder trying to deal with that online component. In the classroom, trying to deal with cell phones, that's a whole other game. And I've seen everything from chewing gum to Walkmans to the ball caps and everything we've had to deal with, passing notes, the typical stuff that goes on in the classroom. But I think the cell phone has been the biggest game changer in
I
recent
can
years.
not imagine.
No, and so it's got to come from the top down. And at one of the schools I go into, they're very, very good with it. They have the cell phone hotels. The kids walk in, they know the expectation. The phones go right into these little holders, and they don't get them back until the end of class. Other schools don't have as tight a regiment, so that becomes a bit of a problem.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I can't even imagine. For me, it was frustrating in immersion to have to police the kids speaking French.
Yes.
It just felt like a nuisance all the time that was there. So it's
Mm-hmm.
probably a similar pain, except everybody's got these, and yeah, yeah, it is. Everyone's experimenting. All the schools and all the districts and across all the countries are trying to figure out how to make this work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, can you tell me about your decision? Was it a moment? Was it a process? What was going on for you in that sort of?
There was an actual moment, and that actually has to do with a legal matter that I had to sort out. And
Oh,
once I was able to sort that out, then within an hour, I had a letter sent to the principal, and I said, "How do I officially claim to give up, to resign, to retire, whatever the word is?" And she said, "Just draft up a letter, send it to the superintendent, and they'll take it from there." So yeah, so once I had a financial legal thing taken care of, I was ready to go.
well, Jeff, congratulations on making the decision and taking control. Your posts and the things I see going by on Facebook show me that you're having a very exciting life, doing the things you love, full of passion. Do you want to tell me about the things that you've made time for now that you're
Well, I
done?
should add that I'm sort of semi-retired.
Oh, yes.
And I remember years ago at Simon's, there was a woman who retired, and I ran into her somewhere outside the school, and I said, "How's it going?" And asked her about retirement. She said, "Make sure you have a plan." And I said, that makes sense. It didn't at the time, but it does make sense. And you can't just say I'm retired and then, get into your lawn chair and watch the grass grow. So you kind of need a plan. And my plan was to work less and make more money, which is basically the reason why I left. And the plan was to continue to substitute teach. And I didn't know how that would go. I didn't know if I would make it till Christmas and say I'm not doing this ever again. But I really, really enjoy it. And I think, and I've talked to some other supply teachers who don't enjoy it as much. And I
Mm.
think what works for me is that I know KV High School and I know Rothsay High School so well. I know
Hmm.
the staff, I know a lot of the students, and I just go in with a smile on my face every day, and I leave with a smile on my face every day. And full-time teaching wasn't like that because you're carrying so much homework, backlog of marking. You have the same classes day in and day out, so you're dealing with some stressors. I just go in every day, and the kids are happy to see me, and I'm happy to see them, and I spend a day with them. It's kind of low key. We get our work done, but at the same time, I'm not stressed out over
I can actually recite a few of the things you're doing, but I want to hear it from you. What's
it.
going on? You've
Well,
got
I'm
all
very
kinds of things.
social with music and other events, trivia. I host trivia 2 nights a week, which is a lot of fun. I have a lot of friends come out. It's just a great night out. I play guitar and bass with a number of different musical acts. And I have to be in a number of them because there's not a whole lot of places to play anymore. And it's kind of saturated with the number of musicians compared to the number of venues that there are. So if I want to play a couple times a month, I have to be involved with a couple of different musicians. There's a new theater company called Spark Call Productions, and they are doing Rent in March, and I'm playing guitar and keyboards in that. So on the days that I'm not teaching, I'm home with my dog, and I'm working on things, getting my trivia together, practicing music, just working on my house. I can take my dog hiking. It's the most perfect balance.
Hmm.
And I was that busy before I retired, so I found, where do I find the time to get something ready for this weekend, because I'm out a couple nights a week and trying to squeeze things in like I'm on lunch break and whatever. So I work the days that I want to work and I take off the days that I want to take off. And right now it's balanced incredibly well.
Fantastic. Did you actually just retire in 2024?
Yeah, just in June past. Yeah.
So you jumped right onto everything. Another thing I've seen you doing over the past couple of years is the live painting. Can you tell us about that?
Live painting.
Didn't you do paintings in a big room and everybody comes to watch and buys
Oh
paint?
yes, that's called Art Battle. In fact,
Oh,
there's one. It'll be tomorrow night as we're recording this, but February 1st, and that's really cool. Art Battle is neat. It's just it's an event, and artists go in with a blank canvas. They have to paint for 20 minutes, and people walk around as the artists are painting. And then at the end of 20 minutes, they stop. Whatever they have, you can bid on them. You can. There's an auction, and you also vote for the ones that you like the best. There's a couple of rounds and their final round. So I've taken part in that a number of times. It's lots of fun.
that sounds neat. And I'm just wondering, it's hard. I know a lot of artists. It's hard to sell paintings. How,
Mm-hmm.
what? what kind of energy does it generate and how does it change things for someone who maybe has never tried it and they love to produce art?
Well, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. I was speaking with a fellow artist just a couple of days ago and said, "Have you ever tried the art battle?" And she said, "No, I couldn't do that." Like she's happy in her studio where she can make all the mistakes and perfect everything. And here you're on the stage, you got 20 minutes. So it's a completely different experience. You have to be a little bit of a performer as well. Well, I've got tons of stage experience with theater and music, so I don't mind performing in front of an audience, and but it's still a little bit nervous going in. It's like, well, how do I produce something in 20 minutes that's actually going to look right? And how can I paint over my mistakes when you don't have time to let the paint dry? So yeah, it can be a little bit daunting going into it.
I can well imagine.
Yeah.
So, is there anything left that you would like to do, but you haven't actually started yet?
Oh, there's a list.
No surprise there.
There's
Yeah.
a list that's so huge. My original music, I would like to produce more of that. I have a novel that's finished. It's in the can, as I say, and I'm just going to slowly work on that and try to perfect it and edit it and try to get someone to print it. And if nobody's interested in printing it, I'll just spend the money and print 300 copies and give them away as Christmas gifts. But I want to publish my novel at some point in time. I may do several. Who knows? Just
Would you
getting
like
the house
to?
ready. I've got a ton of things I want to do with my house. That's a never-ending project, of course. Yeah.
Oh, and you also had a really interesting hobby of constructing. What was it? You posted some pictures online.
Oh, yeah.
What was that?
Well, every year we put out this little Christmas village, and there are these little tiny ceramic houses about so big with little tea lights inside them that glow. And I thought they're just so small, so I decided to build my own Christmas village using some leftover pieces. I had to buy a little bit of foam board from the dollar store, and yeah, so I built a house and a church and a toy store, and they all had lights in them and windows you could look in and see. They're a little bit bigger than I wanted because by the time I had those three built, they took up the entire mantelpiece. So I can't expand upon it unless I find a bigger place to put it next year. So, but that was fun building that. And a few years ago, I constructed a 3 foot Titanic model completely from scratch. I just downloaded some deck plans and some pictures, and I just went at it. Totally inspired by my grandfather Scott, who used to build all kinds of ships just from found materials. He'd actually carve holes out of a log using an axe. So my father told me, and so I was inspired to build something. And CTV News was interested, so I was actually on the news talking about how I built this Titanic model from scratch. The only thing I bought was the glue, so it was all made from found materials. So I really like three-dimensional building as well as painting and photography.
Well, that's exciting, and I'm frankly very amazed at how you live in creativity. Everything you do,
Yeah,
you
I
don't
have to
have a
create, and
list.
I've always been like that. And it was kind of hard growing up when we didn't. My father was all sports, and my mother was all. She was a teacher, but I think she had a creative streak in her. But creativity just didn't exist. I mean, there was no Michaels. You couldn't go in and buy a paint set. In school, there was no art classes, and I was just hungry to experiment with drawing and painting, and I almost felt like that's just a waste of time doing that. And yet now we find value in that in the schools, and we're teaching art to kids, and they're so interested and so turned on by that. But growing up, we didn't have it. I was just so hungry to create something.
Well, I have. You've certainly been able to do that for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering, what are you seeing yourself doing in about 10 years?
In 10 years, I have no idea. I know what I'd like to do. When my parents retired, they retired at the same time, and they became snowbirds. They went to Florida the first year, and then eventually they bought a place, and they were going there for almost 30 years. I just find the winter now a little bit colder than it was. Oops. I'm trying to adjust my laptop now. Okay, I'm back. I would like to spend a little more time down south. It's not in the cards right now, and a lot of people are actually leaving. Some snowbirds have decided. to give that up and come back for a variety of reasons. The economy and the American dollar has something to do with it. But I have no idea where I'll be in 10 years. But I'm happy where I am. I love my little place in New Brunswick. And for now, I've got my dog, and we're just happy living the life that we're living. So 10 years, who knows? But feet in the sand would be really nice.
Oh, I hear you. Well, Jeff, you just seem to radiate so much positivity and joy. And I think when we live in that space of just doing what we feel good with, it
Hmm.
it comes through and it makes us, it comes through in your personality, it comes through in your energy. So I'd like to thank you so much for sharing your story.
Oh, thank you.
And
You're
we'll
welcome.
be seeing that on there. And when you publish that book, maybe we should talk about your book
Yeah, yeah,
and
definitely.
do a pitch for it.
Yeah,
Yes.
sort of a weird post-apocalyptic thing, but it's set in Newfoundland, my home province. So
Oh.
completely different from anything else anyone has published. So
Oh, very cool. Well,
yeah.
thank you, Jeff. And you have a most wonderful week and stay warm. It's pretty chilly out there.
Oh yeah, dead of
Yeah.
winter. So thanks, Robin. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too.